about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So some of you have been very frustrated that you as gentlemen have had some burning when you urinate, some prostate issues, epididymitis, inflammation of your epididymis, some testicle discomfort, and online telehealth providers are not helping you, and you'll pay for a telemedicine visit. You'll call for the medical provider to say to go in and get seen. And then there's many women out there who will also say, oh, I have a UTI, call up a telemedicine company. Some of them get treated and right away. Others are questioned as to, maybe there's something else going on. And so for those of you frustrated with some of your high hopes to be treated online, for men, it's very, very tricky. A man getting a urinary tract infection is much more rare than a female because of the anatomy. For a bacteria to travel all the way up the urethra to infect your bladder is more rare. It happens. Men do get UTIs. I think former President Bill Clinton got a UTI that turned into urosepsis. It does happen. But when it does happen in a gentleman, we have to get a urine sample. We have to see what bacteria it is. And then we want to retest you after treatment to make sure you're cured. And then we always send you to a urologist to figure out the why. Well, now, a sign of a urinary tract infection in a man is burning, sometimes cloudy urine, blood in the urine. But burning when you pee could also be an STI, a sexually transmitted illness. So if you are a gentleman saying, I'm having burning when I pee, you're probably going to also get screened for chlamydia, gonorrhea, trich, and other things. Now, sometimes it's not a UTI, but it's your prostate. Sometimes your prostate could be inflamed. And many men could tell when it's a prostate, some can't. And so, again, in person, we check your urine. We also may do a digital rectal exam to feel your prostate. If your prostate is tender upon palpation, then we know it's inflamed. We will treat it with antibiotics, very similarly to what we would do with a UTI. But if you're having an inflamed prostate, we're going to be sending you to the urologist. Because why is it inflamed? Is it because there's cancer? Is it because there's overgrowth? Why? Same thing with epididymitis. Inflammation of your epididymis for your sperm transport and that gets created in the testes. If that gets inflamed, why? Is it truly your epididymis? Are you having a hydrocele or a varicocele? Are you having pain in the testicle area or the scrotum because you have a hernia? And so these are things that we struggle with online, and you really should have an in-person medical provider evaluate. Now, I'm getting a lot of calls from people with kidney stones, and they want us to treat them online for a kidney stone. Now, I've had a kidney stone. A kidney stone is horrible. It was worse than labor. I'm writhing in pain. I'm vomiting. I'm bleeding. Kidney stones are painful. But after your first one, and you kind of know what you have, and you are a little bit more seasoned to the symptoms, sometimes you and your urologist may have a plan, so you don't always have to go back to an emergency room. But a kidney stone is a calculus of the kidney. We call them renal calculi. It's a hard matter or a stone. And it's particulate matter that can happen because you don't drink enough fluids, or you have higher calcium because of a hyperparathyroid issue or dietary issue, or high uric acid, and you're prone to gout and uric acid stones, and there's a variety of different stones. But if your kidney tries to pass the stone down the ureter, which connects the kidney to the bladder, it could get stuck. If it gets stuck, now your kidney can't dump urine, and it starts to get back pressure, could swell, could go into kidney failure. So when you are having a possible kidney stone, we do a CAT scan. And we examine your kidney. We also check your kidney function. And we also make sure you're not having an infection. These are things that have to be done over the in person. I know many people want to take Flomax or something that will dilate the ureter and allow you to pass the stone on your own. But between you and your doctor, they might be comfortable doing that. We can't, because we can't check your kidney function. Most companies can't. Some might order labs, but if you're passing kidney stone, this has to be done stat. So I understand there's frustration. For women, there's some frustration because they'll say, I have a UTI, I have a UTI. In fact, there was a recent study saying certain foods could cause you to have increase in UTIs. They say bacteria found in undercooked meat, like E. coli, could be causing people to get UTIs. But urinary tract infections often are misdiagnosed, and they're not urinary tract infections. I've had women who had an STI, had chlamydia, gonorrhea, and it wasn't necessarily a UTI from a bacteria like E. coli or Klebsiella. Sometimes you could have burning when you urinate because of spicy food. If you eat a lot of spicy food, that could cause burning. You could have gynecological issues. Like we had a friend who had stage 3 cervical cancer, whose doctor kept diagnosing her with a UTI when it was actually cancer. Sometimes after sex, it could burn. If you're having thinning, or because of the lubricant, or because you could be allergic to the semen. There's a whole variety of things. And so people will say, yeah, I had sex last night, so I have a UTI. Well, bacteria take a while to grow, 48 hours, 72 hours. If you're burning the day after, that could be because of something else. It could be a UTI, but how we used to do it is you'd come into the office, would get a urine sample, would treat you empirically because you felt you had it. We would go send the urine to the lab. If the lab came back, nope, you don't have an infection, we would either have you finish your antibiotic anyway or tell you to stop. If it said you did, would make sure we gave you the right antibiotic because it would give us a culture and sensitivity, telling us what grew out. Was it E. coli, Klebsiella, what? And then what antibiotic worked. But now that people are kind of being treated online, for women who call multiple times, you're probably going to be sent in to reconfirm exactly what this is. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So we are being told that the White House, Trump has now ordered to pause all federal grants and loans. This is according to Reuters. He has ordered a pause starting on Tuesday, which is a decision that will affect education, healthcare programs, housing assistance, disaster relief, while he is assessing what is being spent on what. In a memo on Monday, the acting head of the Office of Management and Budget, which oversees the federal budget, said the money would be put on hold while the Trump administration reviews grants and loans to ensure they are aligned with the president's priorities, executive orders that he signed last week, ending diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Matt Vaith, the acting director, said the use of federal resources for policies at odds with the president's agenda is a waste of taxpayer dollars that does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve. They said the memo said could freeze. They said the freeze included any money intended for foreign aid and for non-governmental organizations. They say the White House said the pause would not impact Social Security or Medicare payments, of course. And I'm sure the media is trying to act like it is, but it's not. Or assistance provided directly to individuals. So that doesn't mean it's going to, have to do with food programs and things like that. But they said in an OMB memo, said the federal government spent $10 trillion in fiscal year 2024, with more than $3 trillion devoted to financial assistance such as grants and loans. But the source of this figures were not clear. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimated government spending in 2024 at $6.75 trillion. So we're trying to figure out what all this money is being spent on. And, it's nobody likes auditors. Nobody likes when they come in and take a look and see what's being spent because nobody wants to get in trouble. But auditing has to happen. In fact, auditing is still one of the most vibrant sort of industries out there for many businesses. Because for them to run properly, somebody needs to look at the budget. Somebody needs to look at what is being spent. And I know people are saying, oh my gosh, look at what Trump's doing. He's doing so much. Oh, he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. Well, he's got very little time. He's got one term and less than that because of the midterms for him to reevaluate what is being spent, inform the public that money is going to the coloring books. I think there's FEMA coloring books and not for children who are, affected by disaster, but I think there's all this swag that they give out to help promote the government department. I don't know if it's FEMA or some of these other departments. And, Senator Joni Ernst is looking at this going, what are we doing? It's called the SWAG Act to stop wasteful spending. And so, we really need to reevaluate. Also, if we are giving out student loans that are going to be written off, maybe we need to reevaluate if these are going to be loans or are they going to be grants. It can't be called a loan. Then that's not a definition. That means the government's lying. And how do you can't confuse the public going, well, something's a loan and something's not. If students don't have to repay student loans, then they can't be called loans. And then any future loan the government gives, people are going to be like, well, what? Like an SBA loan. An SBA loan, I'm telling you right now, Small Business Administration loan, that sucker's a loan. And there's interest, and you have to pay it back. But a student loan, maybe we could, just not make you pay it back and put off payments. Okay, well, what is the definition? And are we going to be very consistent with that definition? So there was some confusion about the Tuskegee Airmen and teaching the history of the Tuskegee Airmen. And that was something that, from what I understand, did not come from Trump. In fact, Pete Hegseth is accusing the Air Force of a malicious pause in teaching their recruits about the Tuskegee Airmen, who was the first group of black pilots that served in World War II, so instrumental in the war. And the Air Force has resumed their course on that. Officials tried to say that they were trying to be in compliance with President Donald Trump's DEI executive order banning DEI programs and spending. From what I understand, that was not supposed to be a changing of history and not including any historical context that was already a part of whatever was non-DEI programming. So according to Pete Hegseth, the new defense secretary, he said the Air Force had reported they yanked the course teaching new recruits about the 15,000 black pilots, mechanics, and cooks in the segregated army of World War II, known as the Tuskegee Airmen, that was inaccurate. Pete Hegseth, I saw on Twitter, was like, this needs to be immediately reversed, the removal, and get that back up there. Lieutenant General Brian Robinson, Air Education Training Command Commander, said in a statement that the segment included videos on the Tuskegee Airmen had been temporarily yanked on January 23rd because a section of it that included DEI material was directed to be removed. There was also a video on women, the Women Air Force Service Pilots WASP. And so, what they need to do is if there are DEI sort of, like a lot of doctors have to go through training on DEI, et cetera, there's that apparently there's a lot of things now intermixed in it. So now when they are stopping their videos, it could also include payroll information. It all depends on what was all lumped in there. And so these things have to be separated. When you're teaching about the history of what that has nothing to do with DEI. And, so, this is our history. I mean, these Tuskegee Airmen did their job. This wasn't about, well, we're trying to give opportunities to, these are people that wanted to serve and did serve heroically and successfully. And so a lot of things got lumped in with DEI. And so now you're going to see a lot of programs try to dissect that because what they did is they interweaved it all in. And so curriculum and training, has gotten all interweaved with political narrative. And so this is something that, from what I understand, the Department of Defense has ensured that would not be happening, made sure that that was reversed. And so, we're going to be seeing a lot of changes with the military. From what I understand, President Trump has now done an executive order regarding transgender enrollees and recruitment. It's I know there's a lot of back and forth. On one end, whoever wants to serve this country, God bless him. On the other end, he's concerned about the medications they're on. He's concerned about the to transition and to be focused on your medical and mental transitioning of how are you being able to 100% be going through boot camp and military, are you at military readiness? And so we're going to see a lot of changes in terms of that. In addition, we're hearing that the military had trouble recruiting because of a lot of the transgender DEI sort of initiatives that the military is asking for help on recruitment. And so, we'll see what happens. It's going to be very, tumultuous, but Trump is inheriting a country with low military recruitment, with, issues in terms of military readiness, both mentally and physically. Men and women, for example, are women military. If our women military do not want to share barracks or share a shower with somebody who is a biological male, who gets favored? Whose concerns get honored? The transgender male, that female now, the biological male in the locker room, or the women military recruits and privates and commanders, etc., who need to train and do their job. So it's a mess. And as I've always said, we'll eventually have to go to single-use bathrooms or single-use showers. But because people want privacy, and they even want privacy from themselves. They want privacy from other women and privacy from other men. But, it is it's a problem. And the fact that our recruitment for the military is the lowest that it's ever been. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One is, you get to see the world. You get to go to college. You get to, the average younger person isn't really that interested in college, and they get to see a lot of the world now on YouTube, etc. It's not as exciting. They get to see this stuff. They have access to all of this. They're concerned about tunnel to towers and needing, somebody to pay for their house. And so there's a lot of things in addition to DEI and stuff that's affecting their recruitment. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Getting some news the last couple days was Bill Gates feeling that he might have had autism as a child. At the time, I believe he was a child in the 50s and 60s. It wasn't very understood. And he believes that if it was a diagnosis and it was something that was being evaluated back then, that he probably would have been diagnosed with autism. He is the Microsoft co-founder, as you know, tech billionaire. He's 69 years old. And in his upcoming memoir, Source Code, My Beginnings, Bill Gates believes that, his parents struggled with their complicated son during his childhood. I believe he grew up in Washington State. And he said, if I were growing up today, I probably would be diagnosed on the autism spectrum. He said, during my childhood, the fact that some people's brains process information differently from others wasn't widely understood. The term neurodivergent is now being used today, but that is not what the term they used back then. He said, my parents had no guideposts or textbooks to help them grasp why their son became so obsessed with certain projects, missed social cues, and could be rooted inappropriate without seeming to notice his effect on others. He wrote that his parents, Bill and Mary Gates, gave him the precise blend of support and pressure he needed to develop his social skills. He said, even with their influence, my social side would be slow to develop. He said, this is according to Fox News, he said, as would my awareness of the impact I can have on other people, but that has come with age, with experience with children, and I'm better for it. He said, I wish it had come sooner, even if I wouldn't trade the brain I was given for anything. So signs of autism, it's still very, very broad. And so, one of my friends from medical school reached out saying, I think I have autism or I think I'm on the spectrum. And, I talked to them about, very social, just, the social communication skills and picking up on social cues is a biggie, but that's not all of it. Sometimes people like repetitive things. They feel comfortable with repetitive jobs as opposed to having to stop and do critical thinking. Some of them just don't like to lie and aren't really good at the small talk. Some people are more introverted. That doesn't mean they have autism, or it could be, putting that all together, that they could be on the spectrum. They might not like to make eye contact. They might have delayed language development. They could have certain repetitive movements and fidgeting, like fidget spinners or things like that. They might repeat themselves a lot, have word echolalia, or they could have word tics. However, these people who may be on the spectrum of autism are some of the most brilliant minds, very, very intelligent. And sometimes there are, shall we say, challenges that society deems as a challenge is actually a sign of their intelligence. So when mom is saying, well, watch Sesame Street. Oh, look, here's Elmo. And the kid's not interested in Elmo. Elmo's annoying to them. Does that mean they have something wrong? Or does it mean they're kind of right on cue? Now, I loved Grover. I loved Cookie Monster, Bert and Ernie. Elmo came later. Elmo came for the millennials. But Elmo was annoying. I thought, it was cute, but it's a red Grover. I liked Grover a lot. Grover was funny. But did that make me smart? If my autistic counterparts were like, I'd rather read a book. I'd rather read Mark Twain than watch Grover. Me, I'm like, I'd rather watch Ernie and Bert and Grover. You read the book. Yet for me, I was able to integrate into society a lot easier than somebody going, I'd rather read. Some people with autism struggle to pay attention. If something's boring, they're not going to waste their time. So back then, people would say they were weird or they were different or they were, and they struggled to make friends. Also, a lot of people on the autism spectrum did not do well in sports. Now, is it because they might not have had the coordination? Some of them do not have the physical coordination, but some also might not do well in team settings. So if their teammate messed up, and you're supposed to be like, we're a team, it's okay, we'll get through it. Look, we all have bad days. They might call them on it, saying, you made us lose. I mean, because they're smart. They're right. The guy screwed up. But in society, we don't necessarily do that. We support each other. We say, look, we've had a bad day. We try not to, how do you guys like my new dress? Oh, it looks amazing on you. No, it doesn't. I think it's ugly. Somebody on the autism spectrum might just tell you it's ugly. You look fat. It's too short. I could see the cellulite on your thighs. And somebody like that will get in trouble at work. They will be accused of sexual harassment. They'll be accused of what, and they're just saying it like it is. And so we, as society are kind of struggling. I heard there was a university where, somebody was, there was, I don't know, I got to find this, where somebody was saying something just verbatim of, he heard somebody say a word and it was a bad word, the N word. And he said, this person said blank. Now, because he reiterated it and he said the word, he got in trouble. And he couldn't understand why he's getting in trouble. He said, I was quoting. I wasn't saying it. I was saying this is what the person said. But in society, no, you'll still bleep it. And he didn't understand that. And the school's like, well, what do we do? And then I think they wanted him to take an autism test. So society is still struggling to figure out what do we do, because there are things that we do not accept in society at all. And yet you have a spectrum of individuals, some very high functioning, some not, who may not blend in with society well and in fact get in trouble in society. I think they believe Albert Einstein might have been on the spectrum. A lot of very, very famous individuals they believe might be on the spectrum. I think Dan Aykroyd. And so, we're learning that there's a lot of gifts, and we don't want to dumb a child down to fit into society. If a child does not want to watch Elmo and they would rather read a book, or they'd rather, go outside and pick at grass and look at bugs, and maybe let them do that. Now, oftentimes they don't like loud sounds. One one, I guess, scene that I want to direct you guys to is the newer Superman, not the Christopher Reeves, but the Henry Cavill. Yeah. The very first Superman movie he was in, they show him as a little kid where all these, because Superman could hear everything. And he's hiding in a closet, not understanding at school why he's hearing everything. I mean, everything is accentuated, everything, and he's distracted in school because he's, that was actually, when I saw that, I'm like, some children with autism exactly suffer with that, where they pick up on a lot of things. They'll see the ant. We might not notice it, but they'll see it. You're like, they're distracted. They're looking at the ground. Well, because they're watching the ant that you're not. They don't like the sounds. There's too many sounds. Well, because they're picking up on too many sounds. They may also be hyper resonating certain sounds. And so many children with autism will wear earmuffs to help try to drown that out or try to filter it, diminish it. So autism was first described, according to Fox News, by Leo Kanner in 1943. Awareness slowly grew, but 1 in 45 adults are diagnosed with autism. I think 1 in 33 children. So we have a long way to go on understanding and how to work with individuals who are smarter than us, most likely. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Well, as promised, Trump said he was going to reveal what he's been told about the drones. And this was something that was theorized and then debunked in the previous administration. But the mysterious drones that have been flying over New Jersey were apparently authorized at the time to conduct quote-unquote research. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt read a statement from President Trump on Wednesday saying the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and other various reasons. According to Daily Mail, she continued to explain that many of the drones were hobbyist recreational, and private individuals. And in time, it got worse due to curiosity. Now, these drones first appeared in November, and they even soared above military bases and over Trump's golf course in Bedminster. So many people thought these could be foreign threats. They could be. But what I was very kind of puzzled by is they were operating at night. They were lit, so you could tell they were there. They weren't trying to hide. But what were they looking for at night? The light on a drone isn't enough to light up the ground. And then if they were looking for something on the ground, then they would look for something during the day. So was it something else? Infrared, picking up radioactive material, radioactivity. So, and because they had labels on them, I think the lighting was an FAA rule. So I was hearing other people also speak, and, my husband's a pilot, and, we have family in the military. And so, it appeared they were trying to follow an FAA rule, which means FAA knew about them. But why wasn't the FAA telling us then in November? So Leavitt has assured the public that this was not the enemy, but did not disclose who was using the drones or what type of research was being conducted. Trump said on January 10th that he would share a report on the drones about one day into the administration, predicting that it was likely the U.S. was sending the drones. And so now people are kind of concerned because Biden said he didn't, why then? And why New Jersey? And I'm sure people are going to demand more information. But interestingly, on the first day back in the Oval Office, Trump said he would start investigating the mysterious drone activity. And he would put his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, on the case. In fact, I think he looked at Susie and said, could we find out what that was, Susie? Why don't we find out immediately? And, some people thought that might have been for show. But no, he wants to be the opposite of Biden, just like Biden wanted to be the opposite of Trump. So he wants to be the opposite of Biden. So 1, he wants to show up to work. 2, he wants to be awake. 3, he wants to look like he's working. 4, he wants to make sure that if there is a question that needs answering, the public's going to get the answer. And I think what he is hoping to do is set a standard or set a new barometer of what presidents have to be. I was really shocked when the Democrats put Biden up against him in 2020. Because I'm like, you already see the contrast on the campaign trail. You don't necessarily, the Democrats didn't need somebody exactly like Trump, but they needed somebody who wasn't a typical politician, who was somebody that wasn't going to say, I'm never going to pardon and then pardon. They didn't want somebody who lied. They didn't want somebody who would always go on vacation and hide. And so, but instead, we got establishment politician back again with Biden. The media was frustrated. There was nothing to report on. CNN and MSNBC, their ratings tanked. And the public was like, nothing's happening, or what was happening. The moves that they did make were causing harm. And so what Trump is going to do with this presidency is set such a new standard such that whoever comes in next is going to have to be as open. You don't see a lot of prepared statements. I mean, when he's at the Resolute desk and taking questions. I mean, this is something that other future politicians are going to have to try and do. Not this, I forgot. What was I say? Who should I call on? They aren't going to let me take any more questions. I'll get in trouble. Who? I thought you were the commander in chief, Biden. I thought you were the most powerful person on the planet. Who are you afraid of? And it really was unsettling. And the trust factor. And I understand there's people out there that don't trust Trump, but, from a medical standpoint, you have a doctor perform a medical exam on Biden, say, yep, he is fit to continue to serve as commander in chief. Now doctors are looked at as, are you guys political puppets? I thought the Hippocratic Oath. I thought you ensure that every patient is getting what they need and you don't fall for all of this, BS. Fauci did a number on patient, the public's trust. And so if, somebody is having a physical exam, they obviously have cognitive issues, you do an MRI. You do a mini mental status exam. That wasn't done. So apparently medicine in the Biden administration is done differently. So it's going to be interesting. Are we going to get all the answers? No, some things are classified. Okay, he can't declassify everything, but he declassified the JFK files. There might be other things he might declassify. And I think what he's going to do is use it as a distraction. He knows that the media is all up into his retroperitoneum on things. And so if the media, is now, all diving into the JFK files and figuring out what it says and trying to summarize all that, that keeps him busy so he could get other work done. And he's got a lot of work to do. So I understand that, that might not have been a very satisfying answer with the drones. It's just, why didn't the previous election, why didn't the previous president share that with us? That was making people nervous. And then there were copycat drones. And then people were like, well, I want to see what they're looking at. And, still, okay, if there was, shall we say, something being researched, why Jersey? What needs to be researched in Jersey? So that's making people kind of nervous. And I don't blame them. So, we'll see what happens. And, I just think we are going to probably be seeing things we've never seen in a presidency before. And it'll be interesting what future presidents look like. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Somebody had asked, is there a real good position to sleep in? Because they're being told to sleep on your back if you have back issues, but if you have sleep apnea, to sleep on your side. Well, yeah, you're not wrong. It really depends on what you have. If you have obstructive sleep apnea and your tongue falls to the back of your throat and then cuts off your air supply, they're going to recommend you sleep on your side to help prevent that obscuration or that obstruction of your oropharynx. So they're going to tell you to sleep on your side. And however, if you do have back issues and knee issues and hip issues, then they may have you sleep on your back. What I would recommend is if you fail both and you don't even know what position to sleep in, you think now you have to sleep on your stomach or something else, I would recommend, one, have a sleep study done to see if you do have sleep apnea. Because if you really need to sleep on your back, then there's a way to be treated, and you're forced to sleep in only certain positions to breathe. You're already beyond the point of sleeping positions. You really need CPAP or treatment for your sleep apnea. So get evaluated, get treated for sleep apnea, and then hopefully you could sleep any way you need to sleep. 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.